Schedule 1 has over 75 NPCs, and whether you love them or hate them, they are a huge part of what makes this game so enjoyable. But let's be real, some of the characters are just plain better than others. So for the past 2 weeks, I have been stalking everyone in Hyland Point to learn their schedules, their jobs, their hobbies, and their secrets, just to make sure I considered every single thing possible when ranking these characters. I dug deep into all of their backstories and lore to create the ultimate Schedule 1 tier list, ranking every individual in the most objective manner possible. You're going to want to stick around because there's a lot of drama in Hyland Point. I'm talking affairs, heartbreaks, and even a throuple. And hey, if you disagree with my rankings, leave a comment down below and I'll argue with you. I don't have anything to lose. We're going to kick things off with the GOAT, Uncle Nelson, the godfather of Schedule 1. He teaches us how to sling dope and plugs us into the best supplier. Sure, when he calls us from jail, we're technically talking about drugs on a recorded line, which is a little sus, but we wouldn't have a business without him. Easy top of S tier. Next up, we got the Day 1 homie Benji, our very first dealer, and let's be honest, he's also the best one. He never slacks off and is always respectful. He might secretly be a cop, but he's also top of S tier. Then we got Donna, the motel lady who charges us $75 a week for a room and then forgets to actually collect it. I guess all the weed we sold her in the beginning messed up her memory, but she did come in clutch in the early game, so B tier. Next is Ludwig, and no, I'm not talking about the YouTuber. This guy. He spends all day working at the pizza restaurant, which makes sense because his face looks greasy as hell. I think he's an easy C tier. Next up is a fan favorite, Jessie. She has no job, no hobbies, and all she does is go around the town loitering and smoking pot. What a queen. Putting her anywhere other than S tier would be criminal. Beth, on the other hand, is a bit lame. She's dead broke. Minimum wage office job, never has more than $300, and contributes absolutely nothing to the culture of the game. Not much more to say, she's very boring. D tier. Next we got Chloe, the hard-working gas station attendant. After work, she likes to go smoke a cigarette by herself for 2 whole hours. It kinda looks like a scene out of a horror movie. Creepy. That's a C tier. Now, Geraldine. I know this dude has a secret side hustle. He doesn't have a job, he lives in the stash and dash, spends 4 hours a day at a random shack, and yet somehow, he still manages to drop $1,000 every order. I don't know what you're cooking, Geraldine, but I like it. Bottom of S tier. Up next, we got the Westville trio, Austin, Kyle, and Meg. I'm lumping them together because they all live at the same house. First up is Austin, and his life is a little sad. He spends 8.5 hours a day at the arcade, and he doesn't even work there. Plus, he's crushing on Kyle's sister, and I'll be honest, it's a little creepy. I don't think she likes you, little bro. But, you know, at least Meg has someone that likes her, because her barber sure as hell doesn't. I mean, what is this haircut? I have never seen a woman with a bowl cut before, but it does not look good on you, Meg. I guess all the good genes went to her brother, because Kyle, on the other hand, oozes aura. Kyle is him. My man is solo carrying taco ticklers on his back. 14-hour shifts every day. D tier, C tier, S tier, respectively. Moving on to McLovin, and he might be the most realistic NPC in the whole game. He wakes up, goes to work, hits the bar, sleeps. That's it. That's the whole loop. I'm putting him in A tier for being the most relatable character. Now we got Miss Ming, and I'll be honest, I have a soft spot for her. Listen, I know that she may or may not own an illegal Chinese sweatshop, but she just looks so sweet. I have to put her in A tier. And I hope no one relates to Peggy, because I'm 99% positive she's addicted to popping pills. Every morning on her way to work at the slop shop, she stops at the pharmacy. I can't lie, I'm a little worried for her. B tier. Next up is the winner of the Worst Parents Award, Peterphile. I mean, seriously, who names their kid that? But what's even worse is that he kinda grew into the name, because his favorite effect is sneaky. He's going in D tier for being a creep. Sam Thompson is a hard-working man. He owns the town's only construction company, but honestly, I don't think he's the type to price gouge. He seems like an honest guy. I'm putting him in B tier. Moving on to my personal favorite character, Dan the Man, the only person in this town that isn't addicted to drugs. Seriously, he's the only person that you can never sell drugs to in all of Hyland Point. But he doesn't even care that you're a drug dealer, because if you admit it to him when you first start the game, he gives you some free speed grow. Yeah, that's an easy S tier. Next we got our first supplier, Albert Hoover, and honestly, anyone that's cool with me hitting them up at 4 AM to buy some weed seeds is A-okay in my book. Get it? A-okay? And I put him in A tier?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Never mind. Let's just move on to Westville. Starting with the people in the apartments. First we got Kathy. Now, she's supposed to be working at the community center, but she only spends like 4 hours a day there. 90% of the time, she's just standing around in random spots. No wonder she barely has any money to spend. C tier. Then we got Molly, and while she may not be as cool as Benji, she's got her own little style of swag, and at least she's not Brad. No complaints with her, straight to A tier. And lastly in the apartments, we have Keith. I hate Keith. He's broke as hell, constantly tries to stab me, and has zero redeeming qualities. I honestly don't even feel comfortable putting him in D tier, so I'm gonna make him his own category. And I don't want to see his ugly mug ever again, so we're just gonna hide this and we'll never have to look at him for the rest of the video. Now that we're done with the apartments, we can move on to Trent. He walks around the town like it's his job. Unfortunately, it's not, and he's unemployed, but he's got a very strict schedule. Pawn shop, smoke. Docks, smoke. Piss hut, you guessed it, smoke. Bro's gotta be like
500 cigarettes.
He's going in C tier for cigarette. Next we got Joyce, and honestly, she is the most boring character in the entire game. She deadass sits here, in this exact spot, for the majority of the day. No wonder she's broke. Straight to D tier. Now Doris is married to Mick, and I kinda feel sorry for her, because Mick looks like his idea of romance is offering her store credit at the pawn shop. Also, I'm pretty sure he has anger issues. B tier, but only because I feel bad for her. You can do better, Queen. And guys, I gotta be honest for this one, I don't know what it is about Jerry, but I've really grown to like him. He's homeless and spends all day sitting next to a burning barrel, but I kinda find it charming. I'm putting him in A tier. Next up is Kim. You see, Kim isn't married. Kim has no hobbies, and Kim has no friends. She works at the piss hut and eats alone at the slop shop. I mean, no wonder she spends her entire paycheck on drugs. She's got nothing better to do. She's going in B tier. This man right here has come in clutch so many times for me. Charles works the night shift at the gas mart, and he has never questioned why I come in every night and buy 160 jugs of horse semen. An absolute king. A tier. Next up is Dean, and besides his job at the tattoo parlor, he doesn't really do much. Just hangs around town like a weird uncle that smells like a mix between menthols and an old folks home. I'm putting him in B tier. Now, let me tell you a bit about my boy George Green. He's lead cashier at the supermarket, absolutely loaded with money, and plot twist, bet you didn't know this, he's dating Molly. I'm not kidding. At first, I kinda just thought Molly was a lesbian. But turns out, George has got some riz. I'm putting him in A tier. This ranking is going to be controversial, but I gotta be honest. I'm not a big fan of Shirley. Why is she making me wait to buy the high quality pseudo? Why can't I buy it right away? Why do I have to buy a ton of the crappy drugs first? Terrible business sense. C tier. Up next, it's time for the friendly folks in the warehouse. First up is Igor, the doorman. Other than gatekeeping harder than my ex-girlfriend, he doesn't really do much. B tier. Next we got Stan, the guy you talk to once to buy an M1911 and never see again. every single save, I manage to accidentally point my gun at him, and the next day, he acts like it never happened. Chill guy, also B tier. Now, Oscar. Oscar is the homie. Constantly stocked up, and even lets us buy jars and baggies with cash instead of having to use the bank. He's an easy A tier. And last but not least, we have Manny. Now, I don't know where he's finding all these workers for us, but I pray to God it's not human trafficking. I would say A tier, but since we have no idea where he's getting these employees, I gotta change it to B tier. Moving on to the downtown area, we're gonna start with Brad. I seriously have no idea what his deal is. Is he actually homeless or just one of those urban camping people? Regardless, he's the worst dealer. Nobody likes him. C tier. Next we got Elizabeth Homley, aka Wannabe Jesse, aka Jesse before meth. If Jesse is what happens after you do drugs, Elizabeth is the prequel nobody asked for. She's going in C for copycat. Moving on to Jeff, the owner of the Shred Shack. You could take one look at him and tell he used to land some gnarly kickflips. Now he's just the guy landing on the couch with a pizza box. Cool guy though, no complaints from me, A tier. Greg is one of those characters that you either love or hate. He starts his day at the Piss Hut and ends it at Bud's bar. I guess everyone has their vice, I just wish he'd spend less money on alcohol and more money on my alien balls. B tier. Next we got Randy. He owns the bait and tackle shop over by the docks, and he also lives in it because unfortunately his shop isn't doing great. In fact, he only gets one customer a day. Maybe things will pick back up again when we can fish, but until then, he picked up a part-time job at the supermarket to make ends meet. Solid fella, B tier. Moving on to Lucy. She works at the pharmacy and doesn't really do anything else. There is nothing unique or memorable about her at all. C tier. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of Kevin. His life is identical to every Tinder profile I've ever seen. Likes, long walks on the pier. Dislikes, Mondays. Drinking, yes. But he is friends with Uncle Nelson somehow, so I can't rank him too low. I guess I'll put him in C. Luis, on the other hand, is not boring. He's the head chef at Hyland Point's most esteemed restaurant, the Stinking Garbage. I mean, what could be better than that? And I bet you $5 he's hiding a rat up in that big old white hat, because there are a lot of Ratatouille references in the game. Other than being French, he doesn't have much going against him. A tier. And now we get to the T, because I'm going to talk about the throuple. Eugene, Melissa, and Philip. You see, Eugene is Philip's best friend, or at least that's what he tells Philip's dad. He's a bartender that's been crashing at the mayor's house for the past 2 years. In Philip's room, with matching PJs. A little sus, but props to him for finessing free housing in this economy. But Eugene's not the only one cozying up to Philip, because when Melissa's not busy dealing blackjack, she's busy slipping away for some alone time at the mayor's mansion too. Which is a little problematic because technically Philip is her boss. He's the son of the mayor and the manager of the casino where Melissa works. Not because he earned it, but because daddy owns the joint. Dude's basically the human embodiment of a nepo baby. He's dating half the town and still fumbles being interesting. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to all be in a throuple, but I don't really care as long as they keep spending money on drugs. C tier, C tier, and B tier. Ooh, I'm gonna need more space, huh? Alright, 1 second. Now that's better. Well hey, since we're on the topic of the casino, we might as well talk about the other dealer, Jennifer. She isn't really doing anything with her life besides rigging the deck against me when I play Ride the Bus, so I'm putting her in C tier for being a cheater. Moving on to the next section, the docks. Let's start with Jane. She's one of those people that prefers to move in silence. You never really see her, but you know she's actually working. Plus, she's got mad aura. A tier. Next we got Anna, the town's barber. She pulls 12-hour shifts every day to make sure the town is looking fresh. But please, Anna, I'm begging you, get rid of the female bowl cut. It doesn't work. Absolutely nobody looks good in it. She's going in B tier for bowl cut. Moving on to Genghis. He's punk personified. A sick-ass mohawk and gold chains, but I do not like the noises he makes when I sell him drugs, so I gotta put him in B tier. Billy here looks incredibly awkward, and he dresses like he's allergic to his own reflection. He works at the chemical plant, so maybe he'll help us make heavenly meth eventually, but until then, C tier. Next up is Mac. He works in the fish warehouse over by the docks, which means he constantly reeks of dead fish. Gross. No wonder he's single. Who wants to come home to that? Straight to D tier with your smelly ass. Poor Javier. Cursed to spend all day staring through a window, dreaming about buying that expensive sports car. Maybe if he didn't spend all of his money on drugs, he could afford it, but I'm gonna avoid thinking about that moral dilemma. B tier. Next we got Lisa. She's a nurse over at Hyland Medical, and spends her free time chatting with her best friend Elizabeth. Classic basic bitch. And she reminds me of my ex, so I'm putting her in D tier. Marco has a long face and a short temper. He'll fix your brakes and then cut them again just for fun. Don't ask him for a discount either, unless you're ready to get stabbed with a screwdriver. He doesn't have to play nice. He's the only mechanic in the town. He also reminds me of my dad, so I gotta give him A tier. Next we need to rank Cranky Frank. And I need you to hear me out, guys. Is he an amazing character design? Yes. Do I love his weird voices? Absolutely. But let me paint you a picture. It's 4 a.m. I'm getting ready to curl up in bed and catch some Z's. Got my pajamas on, teeth brushed, feeling fresh. And then my phone starts buzzing like there's an incoming drone strike because this pothead wants more drugs. It drives me up a wall. It's so annoying. I have to put him in D tier. I'm sorry. Now we're on our last supplier, Salvador. He seems like a chill guy, but it's all a scam. He charges us double for coca seeds if we order a delivery instead of a dead drop. Seriously, Albert is the only honest supplier we got because Salvador and Shirley, absolute sleazeballs. C tier. And since we finished off the suppliers, we might as well finish off the dealers as well, because we still need to talk about Wei Long and Leo Rivers. And let's be real, there isn't much to say about Wei. Sure, he's a dealer, but he's just unremarkable, I guess. For being someone we interact with constantly, he just feels kinda lackluster. Especially compared to the other in-game dealer, Leo. This man has style, drip to the nines, and he recently got promoted to Tyler's community manager. So C tier for Wei, A tier for Leo, and damn it, I have to expand it again. 1 second. There's a lot more characters than I originally thought. And finally, we're moving on to the last two areas, Suburbia and Uptown. Now, if we were just ranking NPCs based on their budgets, all of these customers would be A tier. But that's why we're using a holistic system. So someone like Carl doesn't get put in the same tier as Oscar. And speaking of Carl, in case you didn't know, he works at the Crimson Cannery and does literally nothing else all day. He just works. Boring. C tier. Next we have Chris Sullivan. He's technically the lead banker for all of Hyland Point, but in my eyes, he's just a copycat of Peterfile, so I'm putting him in D tier where he belongs. And now, we get to talk about a little bit more drama that I don't think anyone else knows about, because we got Pearl and Walter up next. You see, Walter is the city's priest, which means he spends 18 hours a day at this little church, including nights. However, that's also where Pearl spends the night, every night. I kinda think she only got a job at the post office so she could read everyone's mail and tell Walter their sins. I can't really blame her though. You gotta have something to talk about when you're laying in bed together. And I adore seeing old people in love, so I'm putting them both in A tier. Now it's time to talk about another one of this town's goats, Jeremy Wilkinson, owner and sole proprietor of Hyland Auto. And boy is he the pure embodiment of a boomer. He arrives to work at 4:45 a.m. and leaves at 6 p.m. 13-hour shifts every day, including weekends. But he seems like one of the cool boomers, so I'm dusting off the S tier and putting him there. But if you're a Zoomer, you probably relate more to Allison than Jeremy. Every day she goes to work in a boring-ass office building, and then proceeds to spend, I'm not kidding, an hour and a half on her phone. She's probably just watching TikTok on the toilet. B tier. Next we got Allison's dad, Jack Knight, and boy do I love this guy. He's the only doctor in Hyland Point, but he's also the only reason any of my customers are still alive after they overdosed on the brick of meth I sold them. Absolute godsend. A tier. Now we move on to a cute couple, Hank and Jackie Stevenson. Jackie is a barista, and Hank owns the other hardware store. Now, I'm a diehard Dan stan, but they're a cute couple, so B tier for both of them. Up next, we have another couple, Karen and Dennis Kennedy. In case you couldn't tell by the mustache, he's a firefighter, and she does this.
This is your one and only warning. Do not sell marijuana to my husband.
Okay.
I mean it.
She goes straight to D tier for being a Karen, and I'll give him C for having terrible taste in women. Moving away from couples and over to the most eligible bachelor in town, we have Herbert Blueballs. Just look at that killer mustache. Since he's the one that sells me all of my gold bars, I gotta put him in A tier. Next we have Harold Colt. He's the manager over at the office building, but what kind of business he's managing, we have no idea. However, he does take a 2-hour break each day to go to church, so he can't be that bad of a guy, right? B tier. Moving on to Ray. I hate Ray. I hate his dumb little smirk, I hate how much he upcharges for properties, and I hate having to wait until he gets off work at 6 to give him a free sample. The only good thing I have to say about Ray is that at least he's not Keith. D tier. Lily, on the other hand, is a very sweet girl. She's a local barista, works alongside Jackie, and decides to spend her free time talking to pigeons in front of the town hall. I'm putting her in B tier. Next we got Fiona, and she literally doesn't do anything other than sell clothes. I'm not kidding, that is all she does. Once she's clocked out, she zooms home. Definitely an old cat lady, but she does seem really nice, so I'm putting her in B tier next to Lily. Moving on to Jen Hurd, and she's called that because you've never heard of her. She's a clerk at the town hall, but other than that, she doesn't have much going for her. C tier. Michael is also, unfortunately, another very forgettable character. He lives in the huge mansion on the north side of town, but doesn't really have a job. Probably just another nepo baby like Philip. I'm throwing him in C tier. And last but not least, we have Tobias, the mayor of Hyland Point, the main man in charge. And how does he spend most of his days? Conversating with his constituents, exploring local cuisine, and drafting new legislation at the town hall. I wish politicians in real life were this dedicated. A tier. And that's it. That's all 77 NPCs in Schedule 1. Suppliers, dealers, all 5 areas, including the people in the warehouse. But I did say I was going to rank everyone. And technically, we are forgetting about one last area. Serena Flats. Hey, I'm a man of my word. There are 8 people in Serena Flats. We have the 6 normal citizens, Joe, Pam, Doug, Jacob, Andy, and Chelsea. We don't know anything about them, so they're all going in C tier. And then we have the 2 loan sharks. I'm 99% sure they're the ones that ratted out Uncle Nelson, so they're going straight to D tier. And I want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to all of the people that decided to become members of the channel. You see, I spent around 50 hours editing this video, and I decided to do it all while live on YouTube. I plan on doing more of these editing streams in the future, so if you want to join in, hang out with the amazing community that catches all of my mistakes, and get a sneak peek at my future videos, consider becoming a channel member. It's only 99 cents. And let's be real, if you made it this far into the video, you know it's worth sacrificing a buck every month to get even more BigWilly in your life. Oh, and fuck the cops. They all go in D tier. Stay silly.